Mr. Blanche, have you seen any videos of the January 6, 2021 assault on the United States Capitol building?
I've seen some videos, yes.
Have you seen any instances where the crowd that was trying to break its way into the Capitol assaulted our police officers?
Yes, I have seen some of those videos.
And have you seen indications of that one police officer they were trying to crush in that doorway? It was shown over and over again. Have you seen that?
I'm sure I have. It doesn't come to mind, but I'm sure it has. Yes.
And you saw perhaps the demonstrators crash through the window with some sort of a shield to gain entry into the U.S. Capitol?
Yes, I believe I've seen that, Senator, yes.
So as a former prosecutor, when you saw those scenes, did it cross your mind that they should be investigated?
Absolutely. Assault of law enforcement, any sort of assault by anybody of law enforcement should never be tolerated and should be investigated.
What is your opinion of the Federal Bureau of Investigation?
Excuse me, Senator?
What is your opinion of the Federal Bureau of Investigation?
What is my opinion?
Yes.
I think the Federal Bureau of Investigation, like you said, is one of the greatest law enforcement offices in the world.
And if you're going to have a federal prosecution of the people who assaulted the Capitol, it would be understandable that you would turn to FBI agents to conduct the investigation. True?
Well, yes, yes.
And of course, during the course of conducting the largest criminal investigation in the history of the Department of Justice, it's no surprise that some 5,000 FBI agents were called on and assigned duties to investigate those crimes.
A lot of FBI agents, is my understanding, were part of that investigation, yes.
Do you understand what's going on now? They're asking the names of all the FBI agents who were engaged in that investigation be disclosed. Are you aware of that?
I am not aware of that, no.
Well, that's a fact. And the defendants in this situation, the FBI agents, attorneys, have asked them to suppress the disclosure of that information publicly.
I've read, I suppose, the same articles and memos that you're speaking of. I don't believe that disclosure is on the table. I believe providing the names was requested by the United States Department of Justice, which the FBI is a component agency of, yes.
Why?
Well, I'm not there, Senator, but according to the memos that I've read that have now become public, it's to better understand what went wrong. Because in President Trump's view, something went wrong in that investigation.
Something went wrong in the Capitol, too, as we had to vacate the Senate chamber, as the Secret Service pulled the vice president out of his chair in front of all of us, as we were executing our constitutional responsibility to count electoral votes. The president is certainly focused on the investigation, but what about the insurrectionist mob that stormed this Capitol? I'm just wondering, in this situation, how you can justify disclosing the identities of these individuals, many of whom were given an assignment. Didn't you tell me that when you were a U.S. attorney, you didn't have the luxury of picking the cases you worked on? You were told, at least at the beginning, this is what you'll do?
That is true.
And do you believe it was any different for the FBI agents who were investigating January 6th?
Senator, the only thing I'm questioning is the word disclosure. I am not aware of an effort by the Department of Justice or anybody to disclose those names to the public. I'm not there, but from what I've read, the requirement or the ask was to provide information to the Department of Justice.
Are you familiar with the president's decision for a blanket pardon for those who were convicted of crimes on January 6th at the U.S. Capitol?
I am aware that President Trump pardoned everybody, yes, or commuted some sentences, yes.
Commuted all of them. Guy Reffitt, the first defendant to stand trial on charges related to January 6th Capitol insurrection, sentenced to 87 months in prison for bringing a firearm into the Capitol that day. Reffitt's 19-year-old son, Jackson, turned him into law enforcement after the attack. Jackson also indicated that Reffitt had threatened to shoot him and his sister Peyton if they reported him to authorities. After receiving the blanket pardon from President Trump, Reffitt attended Kash Patel's Senate Judiciary Committee nomination hearing. Here's what he posted on his social media afterwards, quote, "Present and in support of Kash Patel as the leftist commies continue to spew their lies. misinformation and disinformation. My man, clean house cash, end of quote. Can you understand why the FBI agents would be reluctant to disclose not only their names, but perhaps the locations of their families in an effort to justify keeping their jobs if this kind of person is on the loose?
I'm not aware of that being asked of any FBI agent or their families, Senator.
So let me just lay it on the table. Are you prepared to say that if your nomination is approved by the United States Senate, you would stop any effort to disclose this information that might jeopardize the safety of FBI agents?
The safety of FBI agents is, of course, extraordinarily important. I cannot sit here today and commit to anything around beyond that statement, that we will never do anything to put the lives of the family or the agents of the Federal Bureau of Investigation in danger.
Well, meeting with the agents' representatives yesterday, I can tell you it's a very real fear on their part that this kind of political system that's being used to purify the ranks of the FBI before the new president gets into office is wrong.
I'm not there, Senator, but that is not my reading of what's happening at all. So I wasn't part of the memo drafting or the discussions as to why it was sent, but from what I've read about it, it's not a purge, it's not firing agents, it's collecting information so that what happened doesn't happen again.
And it's never happened before. And these agents have given their lives to that agency. They ask the basic question: what if the next president is elected and disagrees with President Trump's immigration policy? Are we going to be held responsible again, disclose our names if we got involved in the immigration cases of President Trump?
Senator, I think it has happened before. I mean, the FBI is a component agency of the Department of Justice, and so to the extent that the Department of Justice is seeking information about an investigation, I agree with you, not to this extent, because there's never been an investigation as large as the one that the Department of Justice conducted about January 6th. But the idea that the Department of Justice doesn't have oversight responsibility of the FBI, and that includes agent names at times. I can't believe that in the history of the FBI, this is the first time the Department of Justice has asked for names. I can't believe that that's true.
Well, there were 5,000 agents involved in this investigation that they're now being asked to disclose if they were involved in it. I don't think there's any precedent at the FBI of that kind of effort, and the impact it's going to have on morale and the operation of that agency will not inure to the benefit of the safety of Americans.
On behalf